Here's with my team here. So, and today we have also our pleasures to invite Nintex Andy, who is a regional sales director, who is taking care of ASEA markets. So, maybe you want to say hi to everyone, Andy?
Hello, Patrick, SRKK team, and to all the guests that's already joined this webinar. Good morning.
So, thank you, Andy. And yeah, so of course we have our presenter here. So Milad and Robin, so who is like architect on this whole our solutions to our customers. Okay, so on this our webinar today, as you know that we are starting about an hour, so will be an hour's webinar. So we hope you enjoy the whole section throughout the thing. And so I'll just make a quick one on the agenda brief. So we will basically just go through on the introduction about SRKK as a Nintex partner, and also the next we will have Andy to walk through with us on the overview of Nintex and what are the solutions that they have, and also we will also present you some business process and use cases, and we'll move into a demo, and that's a Q&A at the end of the sessions. All right. All right, so first of all, so I'll just do an introduction about SRKK. I believe some of you could be our existing customers, so who are familiar with us, and also those of you are new to us. So I will just do a very quick one to just introduce about us. All right, so basically SRKK is a company that established since 1997. We've been in the market for more than 20 years. Yeah, and mainly we are focusing on the SI, and also we are moving into more on the business applications. Yeah, so that's why that we also work with the Nintex. And yeah, we are also a leading Microsoft Cloud partner. So we are a Gold certified partner. And also we are also deal with some other major technology vendors such as like Nintex and the others. Yeah. And we are serving more than 600 over clients in the whole Malaysia. Even we have an office in Singapore, yeah, which also serving the customers over there. And we have a team in Philippines, so who are mainly on the R&D to build more applications for our customers. Yeah, so that's me on our quick introduction. Sure. So
yes, I would like to add that SRKK is actually our leading partners in Malaysia. So they have a long experience on doing the solution with the Nintex, of course. I should add that one, I thought.
Thanks for highlighting for that, Andy. All right. So, and of course we are also ISO certified companies. Yeah. Yeah. So that's about quick intro. If let's say you would like to know more about us, we can arrange a separate sessions with you. Yeah. All right, so without further delay, so I'd like to just invite Andy to onboard, and also basically to just walk through with us what are the Nintex right now, and what are the solutions that are available in the market right now. And of course, one of the hot topic is definitely RPA that we will talk about later on. Yeah, so I think I'll over to you the screens to Andy.
Yep, I think I can share my screen. Have you seen anything on the screen? Okay. I deliberately put my all-time best photo there because sometimes I don't show the video. Sometimes I need to show my face as well. But I think the photo is better than the real life.
Yeah. Because Andy, maybe you can just do a quick intro about yourself.
Okay. Thanks for inviting me today, Robin and SRKK team. Today is a good day. It's very sunny in Singapore here. I'm actually based in Singapore. Today happened to be the 9th of the 9th, so I think it's. Did you actually arrange this since 1 year ago or something?
Yes, it's intentionally do it, and this is a promo season, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So we hope to bring something to all the audience today.
Yep. Okay. So I introduce myself. My name is Andy Gunawan. I'm a regional sales director for Nintex Asia. I've been in Nintex for the last 7 years. And a bit about the company. Nintex is the workflow specialist company. We kind of founded since 2006, but we moved our HQ to Seattle, Bellevue, US. because we want to get a much closer engagement with Microsoft, because that time we actually started with the Microsoft SharePoint business only at that time. But now we already have about 8,000 customers in the 90 countries. We have quite a lot of partners. We have strategic partners like Microsoft, Adobe, and Salesforce, right? And what the analysts say about us is we are actually the leader for digital process automations for wide deployments for the Forrester 2019. And also, we are the leader also for workflow and content automations in Aragon Research for the last 4 years, right? It's right there on the leader side, based on performance and strategy of the company, right?
Yeah, interesting, Andy. Yeah, so as we know that Nintex was only playing in a workflow and also was specific for SharePoint back then. And
Yeah.
how is actually Nintex evolving right now by moving into more products that offer to a customer?
Yes, you're right. I mentioned to you just now that we started from workflow on SharePoint and only on SharePoint. Last time, the first question that I asked the customer is that, are you on SharePoint? The answer is yes, then we can talk. If the answer is no, then you have to find another product. But it's not the case anymore. If you see my screen, we started our journey from workflow on SharePoint only, and then we have a form on SharePoint. This is actually based on the customer requirement. It's not based on, okay, we try to invent a new product or something. This is actually based on, okay, if you have a workflow, you must have the form as well. And then logically, you must have the mobile application as well, right, on top of that. So in between this and that, we have a Nintex Mobile applications. And then after that, 2013, Microsoft actually was pushing Office 365, as you know. So we also created a workflow and form on top of the SharePoint Online, which is on Office 365. But our strategy is we also want to cater for customer outside the SharePoint as well. That's why we had a product called the Nintex Workflow Cloud, which is outside the SharePoint. Then after that, based on the requirement again, we have the need for generating the document. I think the document automation is quite important tools these days, because there's a lot of more documents has to be done digitally, right? And there's a lot more document has to be signed by the user or by internal or by external or whatever, right? So we had a product called the document generations. And then after that, we actually bought the company called ProMap, stand for process mapping. It's quite simple, right? It's becoming the Nintex ProMap now. What it is actually the process mapping, so that before you automate the process, you want to map the process first. So you basically know how many processes that you have in the company, and then you can analyze the process based on whatever that you put in the ProMap, right? But our journey not end there. So we have another 4 dots that I want to explain to you. Nintex Analytics. So if it's worth for the company to automate the process, then you must measure the outcome, like how many processes is the process quite efficient or not really. You don't want to be in the situation where you are trying to automate the process and the process will take much longer than it used to be, right? It's not logical. So we have a product called Nintex Analytics, which used to be called the Nintex Hawkeye, but we changed our name a couple of years ago to be Nintex Analytics. And then the last 3 dots, we acquire a company called Foxtrot. Then the Foxtrot brand become the Nintex RPA. It's only happening last year, right? And then after that, we have an Nintex Sign powered by Adobe. We have a strategic engagement with Adobe Sign. So the product called the Nintex Sign powered by Adobe. And lastly, we have a Nintex Responsive Form Designer as well, right? It's quite a long journey. I'm sorry to spend a lot more time on this one because it's actually multi-products right now.
Wow, that's impressive. Yeah. Yes. So I think right now Nintex is moving into more products and coming up there are more. And since right now Nintex is already a multi-product company, so is Nintex leaving a focus from being a workflow company anymore? Just curious on that.
Not really. It's a really good question because a lot of people ask the same question, like either the partners or the customer. Let me translate what the journey of Nintex to be in one slide. So if I come to the customer, if I can bring one slide only, I will bring this slide because this is the Nintex 3.0 strategy. We evolved a lot in the last many years. Even in the last 5 years, I can see the Nintex is actually growing rapidly from like a one product company to multi-product company, like you can see on the screen, right? So back to your question, whether Nintex is actually moving away from the workflow, the answer is not. We still focus on the workflow, but we have a strategy to make sure that different product, can be the solution for different process or different type of tasks, for example. And within one processes, you can actually use multi-products as well. Maybe we can see the demonstration later on as well. So Nintex strategy, let me explain to you. We adopt like step 1 to 3 method. Step 1 is actually before you automate the process, you must map the process. You must know, okay, who is doing what and what is what in the process, for example, right? What are the documents that actually needed to be approved and so on. You can actually map it into one single screen per process, right? And then step 2, we must automate the process, right? And then the way we automate the process, we don't want everything to be workflow, or we don't want everything to be RPA only, right? So we want to be, the right man or the right product in the right process, yeah. So we split the automation part into 3. The first one, of course, our bread and butter, which is the workflow form and mobile in one, segment. And the second one is the document automation and e-signature. What is that? That is actually something like, let me give you a bit of example. Let's say you have approval workflow for, pricing discount, for example, within your company. Then after all the approval happening, you need to give the quote to the customer. So instead of typing manually, this is the price, let's say 150,000 ringgit Malaysia, for example, then you can actually save your time to get the document automations to do the job for you, to create the what you call the quote based on the template, right? And lastly, it's a RPA. RPA is actually quite a good, a buzzword at the moment in the last 2 years only. But the thing is, some of the things can be done by RPA, but some of the things can be done by the workflow. We're trying to encourage the people to work together between the RPA, the workflow, and the document automations. Okay, last layer is the third layer, is the process automation, optimizations, what we call the Nintex analytics. So it's kind of a dashboard that you can put it nicely on the Power BI. And also we have a connector to other system as well, because we believe that we cannot control what ERP system that you have. We cannot control what CRM system that you have. We cannot control where you store your data, for example. So we must actually be able to connect with other systems as well, right? That's a bit of what is the Nintex 3.0 right now, Patrick.
That's great. Yeah, I have been hearing about this Nintex Pro Map and also the RPA. So
yeah,
I believe it is a powerful tools, and whereby probably you can share a little bit more, so that we can learn together. Yeah.
Which one? Maybe we go from step 1 first, right?
Yeah, maybe a Pro Map.
Okay, so the Pro Map, I think you guys are familiar with this kind of diagram. It's quite, honestly, to me, it's quite messy. It's really hard to understand, and it's quite static as well, right? So you probably have this document from the day it created, like let's say 2 years ago, from now until now. It's actually this kind of the same diagram. And people are kind of too lazy. I'm not saying all the customers are lazy. No, actually, the people who attended this webinar is not lazy. It's like they are very smart. Of course, we want to make sure that this diagram is actually dynamic instead of static like this. So we're trying to change something like that to something like this, where it's quite clear who is doing what. Like claim handler is doing the step 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then 6 is actually done by accounts payable team. is actually clearly mentioned there. It's actually sitting on the cloud. So anytime you want to change something, you can change something. You can also give the feedback as the user. What is the things that we can improve as the company, for example? Yeah. So we actually recorded a lot of things here, not just simply the static document to display the process, but we actually go deeper into how much is actually the cost for the company to run step number 2.0, for example. And then the next question from the management is that why is it the step 4.0 is $300 per one run? Can we actually improve something? Can we actually maybe not to do the step 4.0 at all, for example, right? So there's a lot of things that that can be analyzed here. And also, lastly, I want to highlight to you, we can actually put a lot of documents, like, for example, like even the link to the actual form, which is linked to the Nintex form. You can attach the video like this, the maybe YouTube video, or you can upload the video by yourself as a guidance on how to do certain things, for example, right? Like, let's say a constructions company, they can actually bring the iPad and then they can watch the video on how to open certain, screw or something. It may be unique for that specific job, for example. Yeah, so it's actually it's deeper than we thought that Visio can do. So it's actually kind of, we're trying to transform the Visio static diagram to be something like dynamic, like the Nintex Pro map. All right, that's step number one.
Wow.
So what's your second question? I missed that, Patrick. Can you rephrase again?
So yeah, I also want to know more about like RPA, as I know that Nintex bought it over the Foxtrot RPA just last year. And what's the key reasons, and is it because RPA is right now is a hot cake and in the market and people are looking for it?
Yep. Okay. So as a company, we realized that some of the tasks, for example, I'm just going to give you example. Let's say task 2.0 and 3.0, it can be done by the workflow, but maybe the 4.0 has to be done by like another tools such as the DocGen or RPA even, right? So the different, I need to educate the people every time I present RPA and the workflow, is that they are actually two different products which can work side by side together to complement each other, right? So the definition of the RPA is a kind of a robot. Is I should say it's like the workflow is the head and the RPA is the hand. So the hand is actually doing a lot of repetitive stuff, high volume. Let's say if you need to copy and paste the data from your Excel to your SAP system, for example, by all means, please use the RPA. Don't use the workflow, because when you have like 10,000 data, it's usually like they are doing a repetitive job, and the nature of the RPA process is quite linear, right? Where the workflow, they need to make decision on certain things. Can you approve this? Can you submit this? They'll be like needs a bit of human interaction on decision making, right? And what drives the RPA is the task, but what drives the workflow is actually end-to-end process automation. It's kind of a playmaker, how you actually pass certain tasks to the RPA and make decision based on that, right? And workflow can be sitting on the cloud and hybrid, and RPA, the nature of them is actually sitting on the actual server or desktop and or legacy system. So in South Asia, I should admit that we have a lot of legacy systems. So how to link between the workflow and the legacy systems actually by using the RPA as well. That's one of the methods.
By looking at it, the comparisons, I can see really you streamline a lot of the process and on the humans' efforts, all these things. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, and just looking at current trend, right? The RPA has been considered quite mature in the market, and why customers should choose the Nintex instead of the other solutions? Is there any special things that you would like to share with us?
Okay, so typical use case for the RPA is kind of, as you can see on the screen, web data scraping, maybe the OCR, maybe the opening email attachment, and so on and so on. But this is actually a good question. What is actually the difference between Nintex and other products, right? Let me answer that in 3 steps. Okay, there's 3 reasons mainly. One, I don't know why I like the 1, 2, 3. So, so actually, I'm going to answer this in 1, 2, 3 as well. Yeah. So number 1 is Nintex RPA. We have inbuilt about 388 actions already pre-built. Where another product, they don't have this pre-built kind of actions. The concept is the same as our workflow. It's a drag and drop, and it's kind of easy to use, and it's not so much programming language, script is actually needed. Of course, if you want to do the scripting, of course you can do the C# or JavaScript and so on. But we actually provided to you the template 388 actions by default can cater most of the requirement of the day-to-day job. For example, the PDF, the Excel, and so on, right? Secondly, this is what other people don't have as well. We have the thing called Nintex Gateway, which enable you to call the RPA from the workflow. This is how you combine the workflow, because otherwise, if you need to start the RPA job manually, then it's going to be the same product as other products as well, right? And the third reason why is because our pricing model is actually combined together between the workflow and RPA. So that when you are using the Nintex workflow, logically, you don't have to pay extra, like to buy the separate license and buy the controller, buy the orchestrator, and buy the bot, separately. So the way we do the pricing is we do it by how many processes. So it doesn't matter how many robots, and it doesn't matter how many orchestrator that you need. We actually price the same based on the processes, right? There's 3 things that is actually distinguish us from other players in the market for RPA.
All right. So yeah, that's I think some specialty about this RPA with Nintex. Yeah, and also can you just share some use cases that commonly being used for workflow and also RPA? Can it be linked together and coexist at the same time?
Okay, so let me explain to you. This is the list of typical processes across like department by department. Let's say from, I'm going to take one example, random example, like onboarding for new employee hiring. Of course, you need the workflow within the workflow. Let's say if you onboard one person, it's okay to type in all the details manually, for example, right? However, if you actually onboarding in one time, 10,000 people or 1,000 people, then it's a bit difficult for you to do everything like data entry and everything manually. Then that means you kind of need the help of the RPA to do all the heavy lifting on the data entry, data transfer, maybe scanning the ID or driving license or something. We have an inbuilt OCR capability as well within RPA. So that's kind of a good example on volume. Again, RPA is actually work on volume. Otherwise, it's not worth it to get the RPA, right? That's just one simple example that I can probably explain to you.
Well, that's a good one. And I think even you have mentioned about this .gen, document generations. How does it actually complement in Nintex solutions?
Yes, so the document generation is nothing but getting the system or the docgen capability to do the heavy lifting in terms of creating the document, such as the contract, such as the invoice creation, such as maybe the employment contract, for example. Back to my original example, onboarding new employee, right? After all the interview processes, you're trying to create the employment contract, for example. You no longer need human to kind of do the data entry manually. So what you can do is like after all the approval, of course, you know how much is the salary, what's the people address, and all the details of the employee. Then you can simply create the employment contract and then send it to them digitally by email. And you can also attach the Nintex sign for them to sign, because in this pandemic situation, it's a bit hard for people to maybe come to the office and kind of do the nitty gritty on signing just the one document, for example, right? So you use the technology to help in this pandemic situation as well.
Yeah, that's really, yeah. All right. I think you have
Your voice is flickering.
and the as a consultant. Sorry, my line is that better right now?
Yeah, it's better now. Maybe you can repeat what you say, the last sentence.
I think. uh, Sure. So, yeah. All right. So, I think this is really after this chat of Lydian next. I believe definitely this is really in terms of like automation. Yeah. 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 I think this is good.
Okay, hello everyone. I think we
So,
have some technical
maybe
issue.
just share over the screens.
Can you hear me? Okay,
Yes.
okay. So
Mm,
we have
all
some
right. Your
technical
table.
issue with our colleagues. So, okay, I will share my screen. So okay, before I go through this, okay, let me introduce myself. Okay, my name is Milad. I'm a solution consultant from SRKK, okay, based in KL. Solution consultant for the Microsoft SharePoint and Nintex as well. Okay, today actually I want to showcase some kind of demo related to the Nintex. Okay, we provide the end-to-end solution for the demo that is cover from the form submission, and run the workflow, document generation, Nintex sign, and then run the RPA. So, okay, let me present my screen. Okay, so actually, I as Andy has already mentioned. Okay, so the Nintex it can be created the end-to-end solution. So this one only, first I want to focus on the workflow. So we can divide the workflow, okay? So based on the processes and based on different industries. So how Nintex workflow or Nintex can help to uh, different office, different company uh, based on different processes. As you can see here, okay, we can divide it based on the department, human resource, finance, legal, IT, and all the use case scenario that we can create it with with the help of Nintex. For example, for the finance, we can have the purchase request, budget forecasting, invoice processing. For the IT, we can have the equipment request, help desk support, device management, and all these processes not only can be involved inside the, for example, form submission and the workflow submission, only we can have a help of RPA. Later we will show you one case inside the finance, inside the FSI. So we will showcase to you how, for example, the customer can fill up the form for the loan application, and this one can go through the process where the form submission, run the workflow, and run the RPA at the end. So, okay, this one is based on the processes. If I want to showcase you based on the industry, okay, for example, we can divide it, the Nintex process, okay, for based on the industry also. Insurance provider, banking, wealth management, healthcare provider, all is a sample and the example of the process or the functionality or the needs that some of the industry looking for, and all it can be achievable by the Nintex. Okay, so let me go straight directly to the demo. Okay, before I go, okay, this one is our use case demo, business loan application that we want to show you. So it's include different parts. It's include the forms, include the workflow, document generation, Nintex sign, and the last is the RPA running. So the case scenario, okay, the RPA will be run once the form is submitted and all the approval is done. The workflow, the RPA will be run and grab all of the data from the forms and it park it inside the actually all is parked inside the some system, the internal system, on-premise system for the banking. So it will be copy all of the data and after that park it inside the on-premise system or third-party application that you already have. So, okay, let me go through the Nintex Workflow Cloud. Okay, as Andy already mentioned, so here we have the Nintex first comes with the Nintex on SharePoint. So SharePoint on-premise, then it will be integrated with Office 365. And after that, the roadmap of the Nintex is to have the independent platforms from the other system. So why help of the Nintex itself? Okay, you can create a form workflow that is not independent to other system. So in this case, you do not need to have only SharePoint or other system to work with the Nintex. So in this scenario, Nintex Workflow Cloud come. So actually, this one is the look and feel for the dashboard for the developers, okay, for the Nintex Workflow Cloud. Once you submit to the Nintex, okay, for that license, okay, as Andy has already mentioned, all can comes together. For example, okay, once you go for the licensing, so you can have the Nintex form for the SharePoint, Office 365, actually. Then you can have the Nintex Workflow Cloud. So this one is a dashboard, the look and feel. So what we can actually create it by help of this Nintex Workflow Cloud. So let me showcase how we can create it and how easy to work. So I will click on the create workflow. So you will redirect to the designer dashboard. The designer dashboard is a drag and drop platform that it has a lots of action that you can use all of them in order to create your workflow, the processes that you want, and also create the forms. As you can see here, okay, here we have some kind of connection. So for example, how you want to start the workflow, whether you want to start it from form submission, whether you want to have the scheduled workflow, okay, that is run based on the time that you will set for it, or it can connect to other platform, for example, for SharePoint Online, okay, submit any item inside the list, then this workflow will be run and other devices. So also it can be run from another workflow. The workflow can be run from another workflow. Once one workflow is submitted, then it can run another workflow. So today I want to showcase to you from the forms. So I will click on the forms. So from here, the good things that is comes with the Nintex Workflow Cloud, you can create the forms anonymous base. What does it mean? So you can have it as a public form and all the client or the public user, they can access to that form and submit the form. Then once this form is submit, the workflow will be run and access to, for example, your platform, insert the data, and all is depends on the what you design inside the workflow. So here you can see as a, you can have as an authenticated user, or you can use it as a anonymous. So I will put it as anonymous, access by the web. So how we can design it easily, we can create we can click on the design form. So you can see this one is the platform that you can design. So you can, this one is the page that the user can see easily. You can do the drag and drop. Okay, let me create just one simple form for you. This one is a one label. I will put one text box input. So to grab the information from the user, so I will add something like this. I will put this one. As you can see, only drag and drop, and after that you can change everything here. So the name, then I want to have one input from the user. So this one is already done. I will apply changes. So after that, I want to create a workflow. So once the user submit that form, so what actually it will be done is it started from here and it will be done all of the action that is between the start and end workflow. So the easiest things that I want to do once the form is submitted, I want to send one email notification to the user. All of the action that is provided by Nintex is here, so you can see all of them. Then you can choose the action that you are looking for. There's a lots of action for the logic and flow operation, connect to the, for example, other systems. For example, one of the good things that Andy is mentioned is Nintex RPA. You can run the RPA via the workflow also. And the rest, you can connect to the Microsoft SQL Server, you can connect to the Azure, you can connect to Salesforce, and all of the things. So this one only I want to show you was the user submit the form, send an email to the user, okay, successfully submitted. So for the configuration, I will put the recipient email address. So I can grab the recipient email address from the form and park it here. But for our case example, only I want to send one email notification, for example, to myself. Okay, I will put myself. So this one is the sender display name. You can change it. For example, I will put it as a test. Then the subject that you want to send it. Okay, submit successfully. Submit. Then this one is the body of the email that you want to send it. Okay, I will put it test. That's all, it's finished. So then you need to publish the workflow. You will click on the publish. The name of the workflow that you want to save it for your reference. I will put it test. Okay, that's all. Whether you want to park it on the production server or the development. So I will publish it on the production. So the workflow is already created. The form also is already created and is available for the public to use it. So it will be pass you one link. This link can be parked in other application that you have or website that you already have. Then easily you can click on that one and open the form. So this form is anonymous form and is available for the rest. So I can write anything here. That's all. I will submit it. So the form is already successfully submitted. Now the workflow will be run. Okay, if I want to showcase to you, if I go back to workflow dashboard, from here, from instances, you can see all of the workflow that is running. So test by Milad is already running, and when it's completed, it will be show you all of the details, step by step that you already done. The send an email, yes, is completed. So now I have to receive one email, okay, from the this one. As you can see, submit successfully. So this one is the simplest form and the workflow and the action that we can create it. So as you can see, it's very easy to use as only drag and drop also. So, okay, this one is first step. Let me go through our case scenario, the business loan application, and how it looks like. Okay, let me open it. First, I will open the scenario, showcase to you how it works. Then we can go through some details. And after that, I will pass it to the Robin, my colleague, to show you the RPA, how the RPA is work once this submit form is already successfully done. So I will open this form. So this one is a business loan application form. As you can see, is somehow complex form. With help of this Nintex, you can create a complex form. You can define the different rules. So for example, you can check the validation, whether this one is already filled or not, is required fill or not. All it can be defined by the Nintex. So let me, okay, select something. As you can see, we can mention which one is the required, which one is not required. So I will just put something as a test. So some numbering. So as you can see also, we can have some kind of pattern, define some kind of pattern for your input. So how it should be looks like something like 3-digit first, 3-digit second, and 4-digit after that. So these are the mass pattern that we can have it via the Nintex also. So let me type the others. So this one I write it Mila. This one, for example, I send it to com. So then you can have the different things for the numbering. You can have the date picker inside the forms. Then you can have the price, for example, the other things. You can have the checkbox, and also you can have the different definition and rules. For example, if I select these checkbox, what should be happen inside my workflow? Based on, for example, the user select the payroll. So my workflow process also will be changed. We can define all of this inside this workflow. So let me just only fill those that is required. I filled all of the things. Okay, that's all. Now when I submit this form, the workflow will be run and create one document for me that we call it document generation. And this document is a PDF. Actually, it's converted to the PDF and it save it for me to the location that is I define it for the workflow. For my case scenario, are only connected to the OneDrive. So we can connect it to the SharePoint or other repository. Okay, Dropbox. It can work with that one. Other repository that is available to park the data, you can put it via that workflow. So I will submit the form and waiting for the process. Okay, let me go to the instances. This one also, all it will be showing inside the background, but I want to show you how the workflow is working. So these are the step of the workflow that is done it. Okay, this one is already submitted. Okay, completed. The get loan purpose, all the definition or the step you define it inside the workflow, it will be appear here. So as you can see, generate document is started. If I refresh this page again, so you can see the generate document is already completed. So it's parked inside my OneDrive. So if I go to the document, so this one is a completed. Yeah, that's all. This one is a document that is already created and parked based on the document generation, document gen. So it will be appear here. Let me show you the rest of the workflow. If I refresh it again, so it will be send email notification to the approver, use Nintex sign, okay, to get the signature from the customer. So if I check actually my email address, so you can see I already received the one email that is show. Okay, this one is Adobe because the Nintex sign is powered by Adobe sign. So you can see the details. All these details can be customized. For example, my colleague is requested for an approval. Okay, I can click on the review and approve. Yeah, here is the form that is created by the document generation. As you can see, is based on the template that I pass it. Okay, you can find this one. It will be created for you. So I will start it here. So I will put one, for example, this signature, or I can draw the signature if I want. So it depends, or I can use the template signature that I have. So I will apply it. Okay, if I click on this approve, this document is already approved, park, and all of the record will be keep track. Okay, who is approved, who is created, and it will be send me email notification. But because I want to show you once I approve it, how the RPA it will be work, so far I won't click on this one. I will pass it to my colleague Robin to showcase the RPA. When I click on this one, because Robin need to share the screen. So once Robin share the screen, I will click on the approve. Then you can see how the workflow it will be run, and RPA it will be run also as well. Okay. Okay, so this is the Robin screen. Okay, let me click on the approve. So, okay, I already click on the approve. So the document is submitted. So wait, so this one, as you can see, the RPA, now it will be work. So it takes a bit. Okay, so to will be run the RPA automatically. So you, okay. So in this case, yeah, as you can see now, it's gonna be happen the RPA. So
Okay. So it's already happening. Okay, I'll pass back to Milad to continue first.
okay, as you can see, all this is happened by the RPA. So Robin didn't touch anything inside the system. So you can see the internal application, the form that you already have, it will be open. And automatically, all the details from that form, it will be filling inside. Yeah, the RPA is done and the form is submitted. Uh, that's all. Very easy, actually. So I will pass it to Robin to explain more about the RPA.
Okay. Thank you, Milad. So, real quick first, back to the workflows, right? So, what Milad have shown is like, yeah, form started already, right? Then the docu generation is already created, which is fine. Again, the highlight here is all the processes is done within a single workflow, right? There is no manual adjustment as far as the customer side. So once document is generated, I mean, like shown that it's already being published as a PDF lah, and then where you can save it to a location that you specify. And then following through, it goes through signature, which is this is Nintex sign. But again, it's part of Nintex ecosystem, right? And again, Nintex shows that Milad shown that he completed, right? He did the signature. Again, no specific configuration as far as the end user side, right? And then once it's saved, that's where it start off with the RPA, right? Again, within the same flow. Now, just to highlight the beauty of this part, like what Andy says, right? It already has the connections to your legacy system. Means like this flow can reside is resides on the cloud, right? But then there is a connections again based on the RPA which connect directly into your on-premise. As far as right now, the testing demo is using I'm using a VM lah to simulate this demo. But within that, this VM is sitting locally, right? And I have the Nintex gateway here. It's already run, as you can see, as the backend processes. So from the earlier workflow, once Milad approve, it will trigger my uh, localized on-premise, right? Which is the RPA here. And I'm going to open it up just to run through real quick. So again, just imagine everything is through one single workflows. It started from the clouds, and then without any user intervention, it goes to my localized intranet. It opens up automatically the robots, the bots, the RPA bots, and then based on the criteria that I already specified here, it will start running and doing the action. In this case, what it does is that first it will open up my edge, right? Through the edge, it will open up the my legacy system, right? I can simulate real quick for it to open up my edge. I see it's open up my edge, right? So allows me to move the screen a little bit. Yep. So it open up my screen, and then based on all the actions that is required, I can specify what it can do. Yeah, it will resize the windows, and then it sends specific value. Now, this value comes from the form earlier that Milad showcased, right? Comes from the form, and then it copy the form and it post it to my on-premise legacy application. Again, depending on what field, it will send all the form across, and then again, using robots, it will click send. So again, all of this is seamlessly as far as the customer side, right? And it finished. So allow me to showcase real quick what some of the actions that you can have, right? For the RPA side. So again, you open up Nintex RPA, is available, is part of your Nintex package subscriptions. So once you create a new bots, again, the bot studio allows you to have a lot of action, right? In this case, let's say I click on computer. So it has a lot of actions that you can leverage on that what normally a user can do inside a computer. Example, it can open applications. It can even open up a CD tray. It has access to all your computer actions, right? It can clear the clipboards. It can create on your keyboard, set the cap locks. So it mimics what a normal user would do in front of a computer, right? Many things, processors, screens, services, it can do all of that, right? It can access to your Excel file, it can create from Excel file, it can create workbooks, it has access to your file systems, it can create copy files, anything that a user normally will do, right? Flow, FTPs, and so forth. So this is just, again, as highlighted by Andy, it has more than 300 actions, right, for RPA side. Okay, now I finish up my RPA session. Let me pass back to Milad. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Robin. Okay, so as already Robin explained, so this one is an end-to-end solution. As is, once the workflow it's run. Okay, let me share my screen back to the slides also. So once the workflow is run, so the document it will be generated. It will be sent to the approval workflow. Once the user sign the document, then the RPA also it will be run. Okay, sorry, let me share. Can you see my screen? Okay, so okay, if I go back to the instances from here, so you can see all the action is already done, and you can see, okay, this submission is already completed at what time. So if I go back to my document for actually to my email, so you can see I already received the actually the forms that I already submitted with the signature. Let me open this one for you to showcase to you. So this one is configured by the Nintex sign. Okay, you can see the document. You have the signature and all the details for the approval. So in which level, who created document, sent to who, reviewed by who, and once the document is already approved and is approved by who, all the details will be kept tracked by the Nintex sign. So this one is an example of the Nintex sign also. Let me close this. So then we can have some custom messages to the send to the, for example, the person that is submit this form. For example, this form is already, the loan application is already approved, and all of the things or other processes that you already have, it will be run.
Right. Thank you, Andy, for the explanations. Yeah. So, yeah, definitely, if you wish to know more, feel free to reach out to me, myself, or either account managers that based in your area.